Let's see if this is actually going live. So weird, I can never tell. Anyway, hi. Again, I'm Lindsay from Reach Out Recovery, and today is ROR's viral tips. And basically, what we're doing is Reach Out Recovery is a recovery and wellness website, small book publisher, and we have social media pages. We have tons and tons of content that has gone viral. So, articles about behavioral health, addiction recovery, anything you can think of. And basically, we are now turning it into video content, which is really, really important. So, today we're going to be talking about our go to list for preventing relapse. And we are going to be talking about some recovery truths because here's the thing. We've been doing this a long time in this recovery world. And basically, it's tough out there and there's a lot going on, and there's a lot you're going to hear about and read about, and if you are in any recovery program, there's a lot they'll tell you, and we have a lot of lived experience. So when we talk about these things, we didn't just chat GPT it, we actually studied this, we've lived it ourselves, and we've done a lot of research about all of these things. So anyway, the first thing we're going to be doing is talking about relapse prevention. And I talk about this as somebody who certainly did relapse a lot in my younger years, and know that it's really important to really prepare for relapse, to expect relapse, to know that it absolutely can happen. And that way you'll be better set up for success than just having these things start to happen to you, or these thoughts or these experiences, and you're not expecting it, and you don't know why it's happening, and then before you know it, you relapse because you don't have the tools in place that you need to be ready and keep yourself safe. So these are simple tools, daily habits, and reminders to help you stay grounded and sober. And keep in mind, again, this is a practice. This is stuff you do have to do regularly, and you really have to work hard at, making sure. Let's see if it'll do this. Okay, it's not gonna do it. I keep trying. Okay, so the first tip we have is know your triggers. So anybody who has ever been in recovery has probably heard something about knowing your triggers. And what's a trigger? Well, a trigger is if you're trying not to drink alcohol and you're walking by open bars and you're smelling the alcohol and you're seeing people having a good time, that could be very, very triggering to somebody who's trying to stay alcohol free. Another trigger is hanging out with people that you used to party with. Obviously, it's going to be really hard to be hanging around people who are still behaving in ways that you want to, if you are trying to live a different life. So it's really important to know what your triggers are, and triggers can be people, places, or things. So it can be the bars, it can be the people you went to, and it can be the things that you did. So you really want to pay attention to the people, places, and things that trigger you when you're in early recovery. And again, I'm sharing all of this information. This is information that comes off of our website that has done really, really well online. And that we do share regularly with the recovery community through our website, Reach Out Recovery, and our social media. Okay, so the next tip for preventing relapse is build a strong routine. I say this as somebody who was a chronic relapser. You really have to have a routine. There's nothing worse than getting into the day and not knowing what to do and sitting around and thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get through this day? But if you have a morning routine, if you have a plan, if you are in early recovery and you know that you have to call somebody, you have to get to a meeting, you have to take care of an animal, you have a job to get to, you have an exercise routine, it really doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something that's getting you some community, that's getting your endorphins up in a healthy way. And it's something that you can remember to do absolutely every day. We also recommend a lot of recovery readings. There are endless books and things and daily readers that you can read every day that will inspire you to focus on your recovery. And we absolutely talk about how important that routine is, especially in the morning and in the evening. So the third, I think this is absolutely one of the most important things. And I used to have a sponsor who would say, you don't have to tell everybody anything, but you have to tell one person everything. So stay connected to your support network. Make sure there's one person in your life who knows what's going on with you. There's nothing worse than being isolated, than trying to live a new recovery lifestyle and not have anyone to talk to about it. So I am somebody who is in recovery support groups. I absolutely recommend them. But if that isn't your thing, there are lots of other things. You can go online, you can get into other kinds of communities, but find people who are supporting what you're trying to do and encouraging you to keep going, because it's really hard to do this alone. And certainly I wouldn't be able to do it alone. So I wouldn't recommend it. Practice emotional honesty. So suppressing feelings can lead to a relapse. Talk it out, journal, breathe, feel without shame. So I definitely come from a family, and I talk about it a lot, where we were told to keep everything inside. We were not allowed to have feelings where I come from. And certainly you were not encouraged to be vulnerable or emotionally honest. And doing so could actually get you into a lot of trouble. And make it unsafe. So this is something I certainly had to learn in recovery, but being able to call somebody and say, hey, I'm having a really bad day, or something happened and I feel really embarrassed, or I'm really angry at somebody, or I'm feeling even really jealous, or guess what? I'm thinking about using or drinking, and I really need to talk to somebody about that and make sure that I'm safe tonight. So that's really, really important. We talk about practicing Halt. And that means really paying attention to how your physical self is. So HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If you are somebody in early recovery and you are trying to work on your recovery, you really want to focus on HALT. Now, that means not letting yourself get into any state where you're going to be too hungry, too angry, too lonely, or too tired. Because believe it or not, even though those things seem like really simple, they can really take you off course, especially if you are feeling vulnerable, and people in early recovery feel vulnerable. Okay, the next one is keep your tools close. So it doesn't matter what your tools are, whether you're somebody who is meditating, whether you are somebody who is attending meetings, and meetings across the board. When I talk about meetings, yeah, sure, you could be in a 12-step recovery group. You could also be, there's something called Refuge Recovery, that's Buddhist focused. You could be in Celebrate Recovery, that's Christian focused. You could be in any recovery group that makes you feel good. But recovery groups are fabulous. And why wouldn't we want to be around people who are going through what we're going through and want to talk about it, and even better, laugh about it? So exercise is huge. We definitely believe in exercise as part of the recovery lifestyle. It helps deal with anxiety. It helps build your endorphins and serotonin and all of those good things. And if you're somebody who cares about fitness, building exercise into your recovery plan, you're really killing two birds with one stone. It's part of your routine, it's helping to keep you sober, and it's helping to keep you healthy, which is really important. What's the point of staying sober if you're not feeling good? Health is really important to feeling good. We also talk a lot about affirmations. We used to put a lot of them on the website. We haven't been doing that as much. We'll have to look at why. But affirmations are a great thing. If you're somebody who's early in recovery and you spend a lot of time doing stinking thinking, and what that means is having repetitive thoughts that are making you feel bad, you definitely want to look at what kind of affirmations might help you get into the day in a better way. So use these tools daily, keep them close. I had a sponsor that used to say, keep your daily readers by the coffee machine. So that way, when you're making your coffee in the morning, it's the first thing you're looking at. There's a way to set yourself up for success when it comes to recovery, and it really is about routine and practice. Okay, the next thing is make a crisis plan. So here's the thing, as somebody who was a chronic relapser, it was really important to know what to do when that happened. So I'm not encouraging you to make a plan so that you go out and relapse, but I'm saying if it should happen, know what to do so that you don't feel stuck out there. You don't want to feel stuck out there in the world. You want to feel like, okay, there's somebody I can call. There's nothing worse than feeling like you've relapsed and everybody is going to be after you. Nobody's going to forgive you and you're going to be the most hated person in the world. In my experience, that's never happened. In my experience, most people, when I've called or I've shared, have been like, okay, great. Are you ready to try again? Because I'm here for you however you need me to be. And that's the beauty of recovery. So have a plan, know who you can call that's going to be safe, know somewhere you can go if you need to go somewhere and get out of the situation you're in. So it's really a list of contacts, a list of actions, and a list of reminders, both for when temptation strikes, but also if the worst happens. Okay. The next one on our relapse prevention list is celebrate your progress, not perfection. There's nothing worse for somebody in recovery than to be focused on perfection and not progress, because let me tell you, we are perfectionists and we will never get there. It doesn't happen. Perfection is not what we are working towards. We are just working towards progress, feeling better, and building time in recovery. So that is your goal. So always remember, not only do you not have to have it all together, all you have to do is not pick up. That's it. That's all you have to do today. Okay. Next one is avoid the just one thinking. If you're like me, if you have been out there, if you have any experience on the other side of this recovery thing, you know that it is very easy to think that just one will be okay. It never is. And in this landscape that we live in today, where things really are so much more dangerous, we really recommend avoid the just one thinking. It isn't safe. It isn't safe for you. It isn't safe for the people that you love. And it's really not a good idea. So the final one on the relapse prevention list is ask for help and ask fast. So don't wait. The minute you're thinking, pick up the phone. The moment you feel off track, speak up. Early action prevents long-term setbacks. Okay, the next one I wanted to do is something called Recovery Unfiltered. And again, these are all in blog and infographic form, both on our Reach Out Recovery website and on our Facebook, Reach Out Recovery Facebook page and Instagram. So here's the thing. I've been in recovery for over 20 years. I was a chronic relapser. I've been doing this pretty much my entire adult life. So what I think is really important for people who are coming into recovery or people who want to stay into recovery is to really kind of give them like the real talk. And I don't mean that in just a trendy way, but what's really going to happen out there? What's it going to be like? Because I never want people to think that it's easy and then things don't go well and they think that it's their fault or that they're not strong enough or that they don't have what it takes, because that's not the case at all. So the first one on the list is there will be good days and there will be really hard days. And that's just reality. And that's just reality for every single human on earth. That is for people whether they are in recovery or not, but especially for people in recovery, especially for people who are trying to stay sober. You have to remember there are going to be tough days. And on those tough days, that's when you want to reach out to your community. You want to do all the things that you need to do to keep yourself safe, but you will get through it. This too shall pass. So some days will feel light and full of hope. Others will feel like starting over, but both are part of the process. And you should never feel bad because you've had a bad day. Most mornings I have are difficult. It doesn't mean that the day isn't going to be okay as I get into it, because I have a practice. Okay, the next one on Recovery Unfiltered is, here's the truth. Progress, you rarely see it. It's often not until like months or a year later that I'm able to identify the progress that's happened. And even in identifying that progress, it's very factual. I don't sit there and go, look at all the progress I've made. I'm generally working with somebody and we're looking at the work I have done throughout that year, and we're able to acknowledge, wow, a year ago you were here and now you've done X, Y, and Z. Can you see the progress? And I can. So recovery often looks like saying no to old habits in silence, like feeling emotions we used to numb, like choosing honesty even when it's hard. And I actually write about this in my book, The Mother-Daughter Relationship Makeover. I write about what it was like getting honest, because when you are somebody that was not honest for a long time, and then you go into recovery and you're trying to live a rigorously honest lifestyle, sometimes just getting through the day, being honest and being authentic is a huge win. So we always encourage people to remember that this is not about, any kind of having it all together or being perfect, but really getting through those moments. The next one is kind of a follow-up. It's the tiny wins that matter. Getting out of bed, reaching out instead of isolating, going one more day. These are our victories too. It is in the day that you wanted to pick up and you don't that you win. That is where you are building that recovery muscle. So always remember that just getting through the day and staying on the recovery track is a tiny win, but it's really important. Okay, the next one is setbacks do not erase our growth. I've always thought this was really important. One of the things that's frustrated me a little bit about certain kinds of recovery is you almost feel penalized if you go off track or if something happens. And one of the things that I think is really important is just the getting back on track. Just because you had a setback, it doesn't mean you're not doing it right. It doesn't mean you're not on the right track. A slip up doesn't mean we're back at zero. We learn, we reset, we keep going. I remember I relapsed after 5 years the first time, and I'm counting days, and you have this sense of, oh my gosh, how awful, I've lost all this time. But the truth is I hadn't. I had 5 years of recovery under my belt, 5 years of making good decisions. And that was the muscle memory that got me to the next 10 years. So every relapse I had more time in between. So setbacks do not erase your growth. The next one on the list is feeling everything sometimes all at once. So it's funny, you go into recovery, they talk about a pink cloud, and you really do. You feel better when you go into recovery. But then life happens and you start to feel everything. And it's very, very overwhelming, especially if you've been using things to numb those feelings. So suddenly you're feeling anger, joy, sadness, pride, and you have nothing to numb it. You have nothing to make yourself like go into the, put yourself out when you're angry or frustrated. So you have to get through those feelings. And recovery teaches us to be uncomfortable in those feelings, but you get through it. So the next thing, and this one is really important, you have to get used to the idea that you're going to be saying goodbye to people, places, and patterns. And sorry, some of it is going to be disappointing. Some of it was fun. Some of those people were fun. We get it. We totally understand. Oh, we're having a little thunderstorm here in Florida. But it's not easy, but it's healing. Letting go makes space for something better. And what we really want in recovery is nurturing relationships with people who are going to make us feel good, that are going to help with our self-esteem. So that's what we're working on. We don't want the people who make us feel bad. We don't want the places that trigger us. And we don't want the patterns of relationships, whether they're in work or romance or family, that have been kind of ruining our lives, taking over. We really want to move out of that. So the next thing, this was tough for me, is discovering who we are again and again. We're not just getting sober, we're becoming ourselves fully. So who you are once you're going into recovery after any kind of struggle with any of those things is not the person you were when you started out. So people talk about, well, you got to figure out who you are again. And well, you do, but you have to figure out who this new person is as well. So we really recommend a lot of journaling and reading and finding new interests and hobbies and paying attention to what you feel passionate about, to what makes you feel happy. Because discovering who you are in recovery is a fantastic thing. There are going to be things you discover you love that you never knew. There are going to be things that you discover again from your past that are going to make you so happy. But it's a discovery process and it's a practice. And you can't just sit there and expect your mind to know what to do. You have to experiment and try different things. So the next one on the list of our recovery unfiltered truths is learning to trust ourselves again. So many of us who have been through this know that when we were active, when we were out there, maybe we made bad decisions, maybe people didn't trust us, maybe it's going to take us time to trust ourselves. Every healthy choice we make, whether it's a big one, whether it's a small one, will help you build confidence. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be learning that you can count on yourself. So one of the greatest things in my recovery was learning how incredibly reliable I am. I'm now a go-to person in my family, and nothing could make me happier than knowing that after all of these years, I'm a go-to person, not somebody that people want to get away from. So asking for help when we need it, this is always on my list because it's so important to be able to reach out to the people who want to support us and help us, and to have some advocates in our corner. And then making peace with our past. We may not be proud of everything behind us, but we don't live there anymore. We're allowed to grow beyond it. So for me, creating Reach Out Recovery, building this business, it's really allowed me to turn my biggest deficit, which was my past struggles, into my biggest asset. So not only do we not want you to live in your past or feel bad about your past, we want to pull from your past what was good, what you learned that was important, what's made you skilled today, and kind of flip the script on that one. So anyway, those are my 2 lists for the day. Thanks so much, and have a great day. Stay sober, focus on relapse prevention, and take care of yourself.